Here is every single legendary Pokemon or mythical that is owned by a trainer in the Pokemon anime. We're gonna start off first with Pokemon Ranger Solana, who ends up getting a Deoxys. Now, Brandon is a very important frontier brain, and he ends up getting Regirock, Registeel, and Regice. So Nolan owns a Articuno that he was actually friends with. In the Manaphy movie, there was a guy named Jack Walker who ends up owning a Zapdos. Not sure what's going on with the Pokemon Rangers, but there's a Pokemon Ranger named Ben who owns a Heatran. There was also another Heatran that showed up in the Diamond and Pearl episode in the Sinnoh League, just a random guy chilling with a Heatran. We got a legendary Tobias with his Darkrai and his Latios, so I'd love to see what's on his team. There was a Nurse Joy that ended up having a Latios. Technically, Professor Kukui used a Tapu Koko in a battle. Go ends up catching a bunch of legendaries. First, he starts off with Suicune catching it, then he catches Regieleki. He also is the one who caught Eternatus, but then gives it over to Leon. Go's friend Horus ends up catching a Virizion that we see showcased. Daya from the Pokemon Sun and Moon series had a Zeraora. Ash owns a Melmetal and technically had Solgaleo. Gary ends up catching the Regidrago. Saturn owns a Heatran. Lily owns Magearna from her father, and her brother Gladion has a Savali. Danica owns the Rapid Style Urshifu, and Quinlan owns the Single Strike Urshifu. Lucius has a Galarian Moltres, and also has Rayquaza that ends up getting caught by Roy. And Roy can use Mega Evolution on Rayquaza. Liko ends up getting Terapagos. Gideon ends up having the Shiny Zygarde, which later is given over to Imp, who ends up being able to Mega Evolve it into Mega Zygarde. Liko's grandmother Diana ends up having a Pecharunt. And technically Red does capture all legendary Pokemon in the Kanto region in his origin story. He captures Articuno, Zapdos,